Welcome back to Inquiry XX121. As usual, I'm your host, Bryce. Today we're going to talk about the way the aliens are used in the franchise. I found three kind of broad categories that encompass at least most of the media that's out there. And I'm going to talk about what my favorites are, what my least favorites are, starting with my least favorite way to use the Xenomorphs, and that's as cannon fodder. This is a bit of an area of contention for me because one of my favorite Alien movies, my second favorite Alien movie, uses them in this way, which I think just does a disservice to them. And that's, Aliens. The 1986 James Cameron action movie, very well done. I'll talk about it in another video. But it just uses the aliens as cannon fodder a lot of times. Like, the Marines make pretty quick work of a lot of them. Granted, they kick the Marines' butts initially, but it's this swarm technique where there's a ton of aliens with reckless abandon who are just getting shot down left and right. And I think it really does a disservice to the Xenomorph XX121 species. I think there's a lot more artful ways to use the aliens, and you could get a similar effect where you could have, say, a scouting team of aliens, like 2 or 3, that the Marines take on, barely make it out alive, finally manage to kill them, stuff like that. A lot of the attributes of the aliens tend to be dumbed down and lessened when you use them in this way. So the aliens tend to be slower, less intelligent, less resilient, their hides tend to be thinner, their acid blood tends to not be as strong, things like that. And I just think it does a disservice to the potential that they have. This goes for the comics and books too, and video games to a greater extent for the most part. Games like Colonial Marines and Fireteam Elite really suffer from this as well. But yeah, that's my least favorite way to use the aliens. Not that you can't use them in that way and come up with something good, like, the movie Aliens. But there's just better ways to utilize them, I think. The second way to use aliens, the one in the middle ground for is just this kind of dramatic source of death. You see this in Alien 3, for example, where the alien is there. It's killing people when it's dramatically appropriate. It lets people go when it's dramatically appropriate. But the main characters confront it head on at the end and overcome it. And yeah, the alien is a little more insurmountable in that regard. You have this thing that's hard to kill, and it's still like we don't want to really confront it head on until the end when we have to. But it still lessens the species a little bit, but it is a better use of it, I think. Despite the fact that Alien 3 is not as good of a movie as Aliens, I think it utilizes the alien in a better way. And my favorite way is the classic way, the way you see in Alien, the way you see in stuff like Out of the Shadows or Isolation, where there is this monstrous being that is just impossible to overcome. You're going to get overpowered if you try to confront it head on. The best you can do is try to distract it or fend it off for a little bit and find a creative way to get rid of it. And I think that is truly the best way to use the alien, as this just horrifying creature that is just hunting. It is the lion among sheep. It is this definite source of strife for everybody involved. You see this also in novels like Prototype too, where you have one alien terrorizing an entire colony. And even with an ex-Marine on staff for security, Zula, I believe, in that particular case, it's almost impossible to get rid of this thing. And I think that really makes the Alien franchise shine when they're used in that way. And I talked about this in my video about why I enjoy Alien. A lot of it is the human element, and that really brings that out the most when you utilize it that way, because it's the highest stress situation you can have. It's like, well, we're screwed. What can we try to do about it to give us the best odds? So that's how the aliens are kind of used. There's a little bit of an argument for maybe there's a fourth way where it's just like this source of mystery, like in Prometheus, where the alien isn't really that present, but you have the mural with the alien in the background in one scene, and what comes out of the engineer at the end, the deacon, as it's referred to, looks very alien-like. I'll go into a little bit why that is at some point, but you can argue for a few categories. I would argue that most of them can be classified under one or the other of the other categories, but yeah, I hope this kind of made you think about how the aliens used in different media and which ones you like, which ones you don't like. And if you have any suggestions for maybe another category that I hadn't considered, just drop it down below.